Greetings and welcome back to Brick and Lantern. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be adding on to our small skeleton castle layout by creating a front section for it. Now we're going to be using a very exciting minifigure I have today. I want to make sure you get a nice good look at him. This is one of the Black Falcon Knights. I got it from my buddy Drew, who gave it to me for a trade. I think he's absolutely amazing. Got the original printed shield. He's a little marked up, but I think it serves the purpose of age well. Get him spinning around there with his detailed halberd. I've never had one of those halberds before, so I think it's going to be fun to kind of use him in a MOC and add a front section to this ruined tower. Using a lot of green, brown, and then of course stone colors that seem to pervade the rest of the build. We're going to start with the base. Instead of putting this one brick tall, we're going to take some plates and raise it up a single plate. We want to have this MOC kind of flow down from the tower and from the cave that we're working with, so that's going to require a little bit of a different scale. Now, we'll allude to this a little bit more later, but you might notice a problem with one of those reddish-brown plates there. And kind of my configuration, I'm running a little bit low on reddish-brown plates, and I wasn't in the mood to make an order for more, so we have to improvise between the gray and the brown to really make sure that we're getting the intended effect here. You see a little bit of finagling with the different plate configurations, just making sure that, one, it's decently stable enough, and two, we actually have the kind of stone area that you see, that larger 4x4 gray plate, 4x6 gray plate, that is going to flow into the entrance to the cave module. So we have to make sure that that fits on and fits with the rest of the build in an according fashion. So the last thing we need to do is continually try to put that on and see that it's not working. But we're running into a problem here with this 2x3 brick, and that is that this reddish-brown brick is falling apart on me. I've broken off every side of it now. This was a problem in 2018 the LEGO group looked into, and apparently I got a bad brick because I've never had a brick, the walls break like that. I've never had an issue with that. So that poor piece got sent to the retirement home today. Had to end up using one of these 1x2 jumpers just to make sure that the entire base stands, but it locks in nice into place with the rest of the entrance so we can start to build out. You see, instead of building this module on its own, I'm actually just attaching it to the front. And one of the things that I was worried about, and you can see me building with it there, is making sure that the front wall of the cave module is actually filled in to a decent degree. And one of the things that we're going to get into with this particular module, the outer graveyard, is just making sure that things flow well together, making sure that we kind of give a little bit more texture to the backside of this MOC, having a little bit of like, oh, you can only display it from one side. Well, now we're getting to, I want you to be able to spin this thing around, really get a good look from all sides, and have a little bit of detail to chew on while we're doing that. And that comes through with me right now, is just trying to build up that front wall and see what our options are here, because we have this big 4x4 gap between the plate and the wall, and that is getting on my nerves. So what I decided to do about that was take a 2x4 and two 1x4s and stick them on a 1x4 plate and kind of build them up as this rock that is just going to sit in front of the wall and sit in the empty space, and will kind of become part of the build later on, but mostly right now it's just so that my back of my brain doesn't start itching and going crazy saying, we need to fill this blank space in, we need to fill this blank space in. It's also strange length. It's 5 studs wide compared to 4 studs or 6 studs. 5 studs, you usually don't get something like that. So this gap is just being filled right now, and it will be secured as time goes on. Going back in, we're going to add more detailing to the wall, kind of turn this in from a flat module to more of a dynamic rock outcropping or cave outcropping. It'll also work to strengthen the back of the unit, which is something that, again, as you can see, we see the knight minifigure from the first episode of this build, and I have that in the card above. But I kind of want to hide them and make it so that there's a scene, and each part of the scene is divorced from another part of the scene. You're not like looking at the knight, looking at the Black Falcon, looking at the Lion Knight, looking at the other Black Falcon. It's kind of like each of them, while they are connected, they're all doing their own thing. adding more textures with the 1x1 cheese slope wedges. I love these black and gray cheese slope wedges that we keep using. And one thing that I wanted to add to make sure that I have everything in here is a nice piece for the front. I feel like we haven't put anything on the front yet, so I'm going to start, and you can see me now, is prototyping out some different gravestones. And the only design I came across that I really liked was kind of this, you'll see it at the end, but it's kind of a sloped 3x2 or 4x2 with a jumper on top and then a couple of 1x1s that are kind of tapered off to each other. Give it a little bit of like a weird monumentality kind of look. And that's going to go right in front of the main build. Just to kind of give it a little bit of flair so we're not just looking at, okay, this is just a green base plate. Going back to the walls, I am still trying to work out what I'm going to do about this wall, and you can see, initially I want to add another detail on, and you'll see what I end up settling on in the end, but I'm trying to figure out a way to mix the brown in. I pulled a lot of brown from my collection just to see, yeah, I want to build either a tower or a fort or something like that, and my real estate is simply not big enough for it on this layout right now, so what I end up going for is, instead of a tower or a fort, I just want to put some pennants outside of the entrance to this fort already, just to kind of give it more of a feeling that this is actually a place that the Black Falcons inhabit, and we have a friendly knight coming along who is attempting to work with them and clear out the skeleton invasion that they are having right now, because I have a lot of skeletons, and I think I'm just going to keep ordering more skeletons for Bricklink so that we can continue to play out this little skeleton invasion that has somehow overtaken my Lego layout world. I'm going to go in and do a little bit more detailing on the side of the tower. I think, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I still want to keep an element of interplay between all of these MOCs, and the easiest way to do that is to actually go through, add some more pieces to the side, kind of hopefully let it flow through a little bit better, let them play together more so that it's not just this is 3 modules connected, this is a small scale layout that's kind of working together to depict a skeleton invasion. And again, I imagine at some point I'm going to come back and actually Imagine at some point I'm actually going to come back and revise all of these, especially at this layout. I really, really like this skeleton thing that we have going on, but I feel like with the techniques that I'm learning and the things that I'm learning about, I'm going to eventually come back and say, all right, well, it's time to revise this and see if we can improve it at all. But I love the compactness of this, but yet how detail rich everything is, and if I had exactly the parts I needed, everything would be perfect. We're going in, we're adding a little bit of plant life outside. I always like this trick that I learned, which is just to add a couple of green tiles onto your base plate to make it look less flat and less boring. This is a very condensed little vignette we're doing today, so it's going to be difficult to really go through and add a lot of big details. If I had more real estate, I'd be working with a larger tree, but instead of big real estate, I guess we'll plant these saplings for now and kind of we can let those speak for the trees that we will grow someday on this plot. Because I do plan to return to this, and I do hope that you'll be with me until then. But speaking of skeleton invasion, I think it's time to get to the skeleton in question. This was one of my bricklinks for the Zaku 2 video I did a while ago. I was like, I need a couple more dollars to complete this, so I will order a complete skeleton. I love these things. I really think that I don't know why I came to love these things so much. I don't know how this was the thing that I settled on for being my strange Lego obsession, but the skeleton models are great. These little guys are so much fun. And I don't like the very menacing faces, but I think the friendly little ones are a little different and kind of goes back to the playful original spirit that we have in the castle line. So we got our skeleton down, and our Black Falcon Knight is going in as well. Just have to make sure that he is placed correctly. Have a little bit of difficulty getting him to sit at first, but this knight and the Black Falcons in general are probably my favorite medieval faction, and I think that putting him in front of the gate to the fort is the best way to defend it. Now we are getting back to one of the original ideas here, which was to complete this cave wall, or kind of build up this cave wall a little bit. We had to move the Lion Knight out so we can add on the pieces I want to add on. Again, just to kind of segment these habitats, these vignettes, from each other, but still have them be close by. And the easiest way to do that, add a little bit of moss, a little bit of lichen, toss it on the front, a couple more bricks on there so that we don't see the black or the lionite whenever we are trying to look at this set. All we see is, yeah, there's a little bit of detailing on this ruined fort, and then you turn around and it's like, oh, there's an entire other battle that's happening in here, and there's a lot of skeletons, and they need to call the Ghostbusters, not the Skeleton Patrol or whatever. Okay. We're going back. We are adding the 1x1s on top. I always like to do this kind of like the archery holes on the castles that you see in typical medieval fiction. Very, very easy way to add a little bit of something to your castle. And there we have it, this condensed, completed layout for the time, spinning around in glorious HD. Each of these vignettes has been a lot of fun to construct. They all bring something new to the table, yet each of them seems to play off each other really well. Please let me know down in the comments if you have any ideas for things we can add on or revisions to be made. I really want this build to stand out and be very unique amongst everything in my collection. Looking forward to probably going back and extending the back section a little bit more in another video, but this is going to be the layout for the time being. We'll see if we want to revisit it at some point in the coming videos or coming year. That's everything we have for now. Thank you so much for your continued support. I really, really appreciate it, and everything, all the likes, comments, and everything on the videos. If you feel I've earned it, please feel free to subscribe. We'll be making more fun videos here. I've got some great ideas in the future, but until then, take care of yourselves, stay warm, stay dry, and good night.